this video, we are taking a look at the Ice Maiden box set for Dystopian Wars. As with all of my other reviews, you will see the sprues, see the ships built, and see a scale comparison image at the end of the video too. Now, this set is different than the other Battlefleets Warcradle Studios released so far. This one comes with an entire fleet in addition to a huge flagship called the Ice Maiden. This flagship you can build in one of 3 different ways. I built mine so I can use it as 2 out of the 3 builds. If I get my hands on some more cruiser ships, I could set it up so I can use it as any of the 3 variants that I wish. More on that later. For those who don't know me, my name is Jay and you're watching Must Contain Minis. I do reviews and showcases of miniatures and miniature related products. My aim is to show you products by companies other than the largest on the market. One of the things that sets me apart from other YouTubers is that I like to focus on the visuals. You will see high quality images throughout this video. Special thanks goes out to Warcradle Studios for sending me their Ice Maiden Battlefleet for a review. There will be some affiliate links in the description below. If you use those, I get a small commission on what you purchase at no extra cost to you. With all of that out of the way, let's flip over the box and see what you get in there. Look here, you can see exactly what you can build with this kit. You can build the Ice Maiden in one of 3 different ways. You could magnetize the pieces, but I'm just going to glue them together. Now I have to comment that the only new piece here that I see really is the Ice Maiden. For the other ships, you are basically getting 3 squadron boxes worth of miniatures. Specifically, that is going to be 1.5 boxes worth of the support squadrons and a box and a half worth of Imperium frontline squadrons. The 3 frontline cruisers can be built in 3 different ways. One with super long range guns, one with extra command abilities, and one with big guns or missile launchers. The support cruisers can be built in one of 3 ways as well. One with large close-ranged guns, one with flak guns, and one as an aircraft carrier. Again, you get 3 of each cruiser type, 3 support and 3 frontline cruisers. I recommend that you build all 3 of those ships in the same way. The reason for this is because the maximum number of cruisers that you can usually put in a unit is 3. You are also limited in the number of different types of units that you can take per capital ship. Keeping them the same is going to make it easier for you. Likewise, the destroyers can be built in one of 2 ways. I went through those ways in my Tempelhof review. There will be a link to that below in the description. One variant is geared towards medium-ranged attacks while the other is oriented towards close-ranged attacks. Finally, we have 6 frigates. Essentially, this box gives you a full fleet at a very fair price. On top of that, the capital ship is huge. Now let's get into the box. Even though this box is larger, the artwork is still a slipcover. Underneath is an appealing branded box. Opening it up, you will find some sprues and a book. The book says read me first. In it, they have recommendations on how to build the fleet if you are a beginner and directions on how to build each ship that they recommend. Those aren't all the variants that you can build from this kit though, but instead just the ones that Warcradle recommends that you use. These are the variants that they feel work well together. This means that you don't need to worry about trying to figure out your own best way to build the ships. They also give the ship stats too. You can find all of this information online, but it is nice that they added it to the book. Let's move in on the sprues. Here you have 3 sprues of one type and 3 of another. Each sprue builds 1 cruiser and 2 frigates or destroyers. We will look closer at those later. We then have some tokens to represent planes and bombers. Underneath are more sprues and the bubble-wrapped Ice Maiden. When we unwrap the Ice Maiden, we find a huge ship made out of an iceberg. A very neat concept for sure. The resin pieces are nice and crisp. The details look great. On the flight deck, you can clearly see several planes that are ready to take off and a bomber too. The ship goes together very intuitively. There are directions, but you don't need them for the most part. Where the indent is, you can place a token to show either a bomber or fighter. I think that is for aesthetics without an in-game effect. The pieces come off the sprue and clean up easy enough. Now let's speed things up and build this ship. The pieces glue in nicely with crazy glue. Lately I've been finding that the larger bottles I used to use dry up on me, so I've switched to smaller bottles of crazy glue. These ones do the job, but I find I have to be careful with my fingers because they do stick together more readily with this glue. I then proceed to glue all of the plastic parts from the sprues to the model. You use several of the deck guns from the cruisers and destroyers here. Then I decided to see how the ship would work with different gun variants. I built the large energy weapons that work well at close range. I then played around with the idea of the long range guns, and I built the medium range deck guns as well. I liked the look of those, and I built the ship so I could use one of two variants. There is a third variant, but I couldn't make the third and still have enough weapons left to make the cruisers that I wanted. Let's move closer in on the Ice Maiden. Here it is with all of the weapon variants that you could load it up with, plus a few rocket launchers that you can't quite use. The standard loadout with the close range energy weapon is the Ice Maiden. Here is another variant of the ship. Those guns give the ship better mid-range firepower. Instead of magnetizing these parts, I just built them as is, and I figured I'd slide them in and out of the weapon bays as necessary. Again, it is an impressive model. I still have to decide what colors to paint it though. Now let's look at the other ships that come in this battle fleet. Moving in on this plastic frame, you get two of these support sprues. If you watch my other videos, you may have seen these sprues before. They are from my Tempelhof review. The second sprue is from my Frontline Squadron set. I didn't have these ones before, so these miniatures are new to me. In total, you get 6 sprues, 3 of each type. On top of that, you get a whole bunch of bases to represent flight tokens. Let me show you the cruisers that I made. This is a Blucher class cruiser. You can load it out with heavy rockets or heavy volt guns. Again, like the kits I built in my last Imperium review, the idea of these ships is that they are modular. In the lore, the Imperium docks these ships and railroads in whatever loadout they want for the ship. It is a concept that I really like. You could make multiple loadouts with this kit like what I did for the Ice Maiden, but I decided to glue down the parts instead. Here we have the parts being loaded onto the ship before I glued them down to the decks. Speaking of big guns, here is a cruiser I built with the Gustav Heavy Bombards. Those are some really big guns. You could load them onto the Ice Maiden too, but I use them for the cruisers instead. Next up, we have the Arminus Frigate. These fast little ships come plentiful in this kit. I also built up some destroyers. There are 2 variants available, and I built both of them. You may recognize them from my Tempelhof review. With all of these ships built, here's the full fleet. All of this comes in the Ice Maiden Battlefleet box set. Overall, I really enjoyed building this kit, and now I have to make some decisions on how to paint it. Now let's move on to some scale comparison shots. For an idea of size of these versus other games, here the Ice Maiden is beside a Chaos Space Cultist and a Primaris Space Marine by Games Workshop. The Ice Maiden is a very sizable model. Here it is beside the Tempelhof carrier. If you missed it, this is a big ship from an earlier Dystopian Wars video. Here are the support cruisers built as aircraft carriers from that same video, followed by a look at the entire fleet alongside the Ice Maiden. The Ice Maiden is an absolutely enormous ship. Overall, this was a very enjoyable model set to work with. I kind of wish that this kit came with enough parts to make all of the variants of the big ship, but you need the weapons for your cruisers. The book within has a different way that they suggest that you build the fleet, but I took my own direction with this project. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. Oh yes, you can visit my website too at mustcontainminis.com. Until next time, happy gaming everyone!